Home the gold.
He could be too far. No, he's streaking. Oh, what a catch!
And puts a spicy forehand out in front of Naomi Morcilla.
Wu for the win. Team Canada. Darren Wu!
Santos with the layout grab.
Oh, that fantastic grab. The claws of Chaffer.
Canada just became the world champions.
Canada and the rest of the world, you're listening to the Huckin Eh podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Theo Wan, living in Kingston, Ontario.
And I'm Danie Proby from New West BC, and we are your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. Speaking of Ultimate, Theo, did you have the ultimate Christmas?
I had how do I say this? A regular Christmas. Hung out with the fam jam, went back to Toronto, and now I'm back in Kingston. I watched a lot of college football. It's still going on. So that was my Christmas, really, or holiday. And just taking time off work, which is great. So no Frisbee playing, but still making sure I hit the gym when it's open here, and survived a potential snowstorm out. Are there snowstorms out in Vancouver ever?
Yeah, it was really bad last week. And right before Christmas, a lot of people had to cancel plans and everything. But it's like it went from -8 to +10 in a day. And so now we're just dealing with flooding.
Oh, yeah, it's different weather over there because, yeah, I left on Thursday night, and basically at one point, I think it was Saturday or Friday, like Kingston was snowed in. My landlord showed me our house, like it was like fully like it's like a whiteout over there or over here now that I'm back. And 401 was closed at some point, which is our major highway. So yeah, I escaped that craziness there and got back in time. So you also did some traveling, it sounds like, heading over to the island.
Yeah, we actually had a Christmas friends dinner at Ben Burrell's house on the 23rd evening. And with the weather the way it was and how many ferries were being canceled, we were really worried about catching the ferry on the 24th because it's usually quite crazy. And so basically we went to this friends dinner thing. We went to bed at 1:30. We stayed overnight there. We got up at 3:30. So we had a 2-hour nap and then drove to the ferry, made the first ferry, the 6:15, and then basically drove up island, introduced my dog to my mom's cat, and that was very stressful at first because she is a predator and wants to chase things. And so she ended up being fine with this cat. This cat whipped her. She's totally in fear of it completely. We ended up doing some escape rooms. We did boys versus girls family escape rooms. So like I come from a very competitive group of humans, and the girls team absolutely slayed. If there was any question, we did 2 different rooms. And so like we did one room while the guys did the other room, and then we switched. And so we keep time, like how many hints you get. Like it's this whole Christmas tradition, which I find very fun.
I like that.
So got to play basketball with the niece and nephew a little bit. They both got a nice Elevate shirt and a Frisbee for Christmas.
Oh, you're starting the indoctrination like early. That's good. That's what I like to hear.
I mean, they got other gifts too, but like that was just in the car. And I was like, okay, you want a dry fit shirt? For sure. Here's a shirt for you. So yeah, it was good. And then came back on the 26th. And last night went to an event called the Winter Social, which is actually somebody named Luke Charlesworth's birthday. He's a Frisbee player from UVic. And got to hang out a bunch of my old homies from UVic/Traffic. Shout out to Katie Hikita again for being our most devout fan ever.
True. That is
She
true.
listens to every episode. She gives other people the updates of my life because she listens to it, and she loves our banter. So this episode's dedicated to you, Kita.
Yeah, the devoted listeners, the ones that, will message us after an episode drops. For example, someone telling me they have someone in their family that went to Michigan State. So clearly they listened to the last episode when I was talking about how much I love Midwest America. So that a week has passed and I still love Midwest America and can't wait to be back. So if you share the same love for a sports team like myself, or in Danny's case, the UVic love, send us a message. We always appreciate that.
Yeah, I also had somebody message me yesterday being like, I also love Last Chance University. Seriously, it's like clearly you listened to it. It was like the day that our episode dropped. So thank you to all of our fans out there. Just like real big appreciation for y'all. Now, Theo, this episode is going to be a bit different than normal. Can you inform everybody what is going down?
Episode basically is all about vibes. Talked about this off air. It's gonna be vibes. So we're gonna share and look at some of our favorite memories from 2022. So, I didn't really play, so it's gonna be me kind of on the media side. Danie, you're probably gonna share a little bit about coaching and playing, and then we're gonna kind of do a wish list of what we want to see in 2023. Could be like proposed changes, things we want to see from either Ultimate Canada or another organization. It could be like some off the wall stuff. So it's going to be a different episode for you, but hopefully a fun one for you to listen to during your holiday break, as I know probably next week people will get back to work. I know I will. So hopefully you enjoy this kind of fun, vibey episode for you.
Yeah, so we're going to take a quick break. We're going to shoot back into the past. We're going to move into the future as we say goodbye to 2022. Hey, it's Danie here.
Theo too.
New year, new you.
We want to wish everyone a happy new year from the Huckin Eh podcast. Truly appreciate all the support, and we're excited for 2023.
And we're still your coast-to-coast guide to all things Canadian Ultimate. Okay, Theo. The memories, the memes, as they say. Mine are in chronological order. I don't know if you kind of organized yours that way.
I did not. I'm looking at my list. I did not. I organized it kind of just based off whatever came into my brain. So I could reorganize it into chronological if you want me to, but
No.
Yeah, I'll just go off. Like I said, this episode's all about vibes. So, Danie, I'll give you the honors. You can share your favorite memory first. It doesn't have to. This doesn't necessarily mean, by the way, audience, that it's her best memory, and maybe hers. She's going chronological, so I'll let you go ahead first with your first favorite memory.
So my first favorite memory is the very first U20 training camp in Vancouver, because I had been so excited in 2020 after going to all the tryouts to actually see the athletes come together for the first time, and we never got to see that group come together. And so this Vancouver tryout felt like an experience I had been waiting for a really long time. And to see all of them kind of gathering and to show up the first practice, like the fact that everyone was like so bought in and the intensity was so high from the get-go, I was elated. I was on cloud nine the whole time. I remember being like, okay, really cherish this moment. Like the first practice was just the dopest. It was so great. So that would be my first one.
I think COVID really showed people what they miss and value as well, because you get a chance to kind of sit in and realize like how important it is. So no, that's a good memory. I like that you're going chronological. I'm going to dip into the month of August here. This tournament's going to have multiple memories for me, but I'm going to kind of hone in on some specific ones. So this first one is it's kind of a thing where if you were there, you're going to remember it, and if you weren't there, sorry, you missed out on a cool event. So basically, there was a huge rain delay that happened, caused multiple games in the senior division, the regular adult, as some people call it. I don't call it that, but some people do. And there was a huge delay, and ended up finals shifted around, right? We had finals at night, which is like not normal. And one of the things that came out of it was everyone huddling under this tent, or not tent, like a protective area that's like in this complex. Have you been to Brampton, Danie?
Yeah, I don't remember this undercover area though.
Okay, but you've been to that facility.
Yeah.
Okay. So
everyone has.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you played a national tournament, you've probably been to Brampton, B-Town. So there was a community group singing, doing some songs, and all of a sudden there's a flood of Frisbee players that show up. And I forgot what song was the first one, but then Taylor Swift comes out. There's some Taylor Swift. There's some My Heart Will Go On, Celine Dion. Everybody's singing. People are like holding each other, like pretending it's the Titanic. I think some people from the West Coast were doing that actually. People got like fake lighters with their cell phones, and it was just the vibiest time. It was so cool, like super organic. And like, I feel like those are kind of the events that are the most fun and memorable. Is like, it just happened, and it probably they tried to do it in the juniors. Like they tried something like that, but it just wasn't the same vibes. Just wasn't. So
Wasn't vibey.
wasn't as vibey. So that's my favorite memory. It's not even frisbee like playing related. It's honestly just, yeah, it was. You got to be there. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I love how spontaneous that one was. It was so cool to see all the stories and follow along. Looked very hype. Okay, my next one was when the U20 team won No Borders. It was very exciting. Like a lot of the games were quite lopsided, but we were excited to play Cube in the finals and just looked so confident, so intense the whole time. We're playing against this team. I actually forget which game it was, but I could tell like quite a few of them were like my age or older. Like they were in the masters category on this team. And the very first point we played, we were on O, but I think somebody overthrew ABBA and she had like the sickest layout to catch it, like full extension fingertips, got up and immediately hucked it to Alicia, who had a full extension layout in the end zone. Like all the U20 guys were watching the whole team that we're playing against, just like basically like gave up. Like they put their hands on their knees and were like, what the heck is this team? There's like feral monsters. So it was like a really cool moment, just where everyone, including me, was like jaw dropped. I was like, what are these athletes that I get to work with? So feeling very lucky in that moment.
Yeah, that was a fun tournament to be at. I played only the one day on a team there because there was a rush game on Saturday. But that was a fun tournament to be at. I'm sure you met lots of the East Coast fans out there because you don't go to this area very often. So when you show up, people, I heard you tell me this story, multiple stories of people just saying, "Hey, Danny, like listen to the show. Nice to meet you." Anyone ask for your autograph or no?
Not that I recall.
Sign my arm, sign my arm, sign my hand.
People do like the pictures or selfies and stuff. Like I got stopped in the airport one time after.
Wait, really?
Maybe it was after WUC, but the person like, yeah, was Canadian or something. I don't know. Anyways, it was funny. They're like, I saw them like looking at me and I was like, what is happening? And they're like, I really want to get a picture with you. It's like, are you going to like make fun of me? Like, I'm like so skeptical.
No, don't be skeptical of the fans. Don't be skeptical of the fans.
Yeah.
My next one, once again, I said I wasn't going to go chronological. So my next one's CUC again. You're going to hear me reference this event a lot because it was a pretty, at least a big event in my life in terms of media. So I would say I just really loved the juniors tournament in general. And like we put up like our story prompts. People were responding, hyping up their teammates. I was like, so cool. People were like voting and talking about that. And then, we talk about jersey trading. That was one of our first episodes we ever did, by the way. So throw it back and go watch that or listen to it. We had a couple people on as well, Emma and Tushar. And so I heard about this juniors jersey trading. I heard about it. It was like this like folklore thing. I didn't see it yet. And, I'm trying to commentate the finals, but we get a break, whatever. And I'm walking down and in between the two turf fields, jerseys just lined up everywhere. And Emma was actually one of them protecting, like kind of like it looked like she was running a shop, like legitimately running a shop. She was like, I was like, Emma, like, what's up? And she's just like running a shop, got the jersey spread out. People are looking, trading. So jersey trading is a real thing. I think it's more so in the juniors. I don't see it as much in the senior division. So, or especially masters. So junior division, that stuck out to me, kind of that tournament, but just seeing like the hype that people had for it, I think people were just happy to get back out there. I'm going to reference CUC juniors in our subscriber only. So this is a teaser for that. Danie had our coach's corner. You're going to get commentator's corner this week. And I'll talk about some of my favorite games that I was able to call this year. And one of them will be from the juniors tournament there.
Yeah, I feel like there was just recently a reel posted by B, I think, of somebody in a juniors game kind of getting a hand block, and it was one of the more...
Oh, Vortex. Yeah, Vortex. That was
yeah. That game was crazy.
I was live streaming that game, remember?
Yes. That last point, I swear, was like an hour long.
Yeah, I was chirping a little bit on the live stream. on our
Yeah,
Instagram.
there's a lot of calls.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Okay. Mine going across the seas, getting the opportunity to play with Cold, even though they had never met me. They picked myself up and two other BC folks to play with them at Masters World Masters Club Championships.
Wamuck,
There's a lot of letters. Wamuck. And it was super awesome to travel around Ireland and get engaged on that trip. And then, yeah, being able to play was really fun. We lost our first game to old number 7, I think from like the Alabama region, I believe. I could be wrong. And they beat us like
Southern team.
badly. Yeah, they beat us badly. Like it was, I think we lost by like 7 or 8. Like we couldn't string passes together. I felt very unsatisfied. That was like the one game we had on the first day. We play the tournament. We're kind of figuring things out. We get to quarterfinals. We match up with against them again. We have this new confidence from having played all these other games together. And so we go to play them and we're neck and neck with them. And then all of a sudden we start stringing together some breaks and we end up winning by 2 or 3 points. And I think that they were really upset. And obviously everyone on our team was just, we weren't even sure we'd make it to top 16, let alone playing in semifinals. So that was like a pretty cool experience. And then another part of that was that during the Ireland trip, I interviewed for the head coach position for the mixed team. And so I was kind of surprised to kind of get that interview because I hadn't coached at the U24 level before. But because I had just done a cycle of U20, I think I was getting kind of the opportunity to kind of say my piece. And so I'm in a camper van hot spotting in like the hills of Ireland doing my interview. And this time for this interview, I decided to be a bit more opinionated and also like confident in my skills. And it paid off because during Wamuck, I was upstairs like waking up, my alarm like to get up to get ready to play games, and I checked my email and it's like, congrats.
No call? Come on now. No phone call?
Yeah, no, it's the email, but I was kind of a little bit overwhelmed with emotions. I know it's like people don't really know, if you don't know, the difference between assist coaching and head coaching. So much of it is, I mean, you have all the responsibility and pressure, I guess, but more than that, it's so much work, like computer work,
admin
logistics,
yeah.
So much admin. Even though we do have somebody from Ultimate Canada, Catherine Boren, like doing the management side, we still have so much. And because I have really high expectations of myself, I kind of go all in, and it's taking up a lot of time. And I think that's why it's so hard for people to want to move into head coaching. If they have kids, if they have a real job, unlike me. And so I think that it's tough. So we'll be talking about this a little bit in our kind of wish list later, or I will be. But that was, a really pivotal moment for me, and an exciting challenge.
Kudos to the coaches, because some coaches, they've done more than one cycle. So yeah, give some love to them. Danie, I don't want you to discount yourself about your job, because it is a real job. You're making some money out here. Entrepreneur and ultimate, love it. Just not your normal 9 to 5. That's what it is. Like,
especially
different.
Not in the winter. It's like 11 to 2.
Hey, we'll take it. That's like my last week wasn't working at all. So for me, you talked about kind of your a challenge, but also a growth moment. And so for myself, it would be commentating at WUC. So being able to be one of the few commentators to be able to call those games was really meaningful to me. You'll hear about that in subscriber only if you're a subscriber. Specifically, being able to commentate people that I know personally, like Canadian teams. It was great to commentate some of the like teams from other cultures as well. Getting to meet a team from Venezuela and Warao, like that was really cool, and hearing their story. And there was actually a Canadian that plays on AFC on that team, so that was fun. And just being able to see those people that I've either played with or commentated before, seeing them on the world stage was really cool. Specifically, seeing a Canadian team in the mixed final and being I got to interview Alex Lamb for it, which was really cool. And then also mixtape because they won. So that was a really fun experience. and very challenging. I know we only called, I think we did 2 games a day. That was sort of like what we had to do, and then a sideline reporting gig. But on top of recording these daily recap episodes, it did eat up a lot of my time, is all I'm saying. So it was challenging. We grew and learned a lot from each other, and I hope to, head to the UK and visit some of them, maybe some of the people I met. So yeah, it was a good experience. Got to see Traffic in person. I don't think you weren't ever on the live stream, right?
No.
No. Yeah, Sixers was, and a couple other PBHG was as well. So it was also cool just to see all the Canadian teams there and just wishing them good luck. We had a little group chat going. You remember this, Danny? We had a little group chat going, and everyone in the teams were like encouraging each other and like sending updates. That was actually pretty sick.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on the walk train right now. So being part of the showcase game was a once in a lifetime opportunity that I was like happy that we had that opportunity. We obviously played not to even close the level that we did basically the rest of the season. We were very scared, but I think that really helped us in the long term kind of be able to play under pressure situations because we'd gone through something that was like that intense. That many people watching, like anytime there's a turnover, you're like the ooh in the crowd and stuff. So it feels it was definitely an out of body experience. And I think I was making some weird decisions that I normally wouldn't. And my coach at halftime was like, "Are you okay?" He's never said that to me before. I was like, okay, so I'm clearly not hiding how I'm feeling on the inside, on the outside. So it was a good opportunity for me to kind of learn how to like stay calm in those situations. So that was really cool. It was also really fun to follow along with Red Flag because I've coached quite a few of those people before and know and love them. And so I made my way to their fields quite often. It was so excited to kind of see them finally match up against American teams and be in the finals. Insane. So fun watching Furious play. It was sad when Ari got COVID, but he got to come back out by the end. So he got to finish the tournament at least. So that was Wuck. And it was so good to see you, Theo.
We saw each other that tournament?
Yeah, we saw each other at the showcase game after.
Yeah, no, before too. You're like, I'm nervous. I remember when I went up to you.
I was booping myself.
Yeah. You're a bit nervous there. A side note from Wuck as we wrap up that tournament, it was really cool to meet people that I've interviewed previously, like for my original podcast. So like Jamie Erickson, Chris Kocher. It was really cool to actually see them in person. Nico Mueller technically wasn't supposed to be there, but waved to him from a distance. Let's just say that. Yeah, that was really fun to be a part of. So I'm going to shift over to something that we did for our podcast, which was the first. You got to give kudos to Danny, kind of got this going off the ground, but our uni awards, or I should say college awards, I think people loved it. We got a lot of traction. We collabed with Ultiworld, so it was shared pretty widely, and it took a while. Let's just say, folks, it took a while to accumulate the votes and all those things. Maybe we'll refine the process for next time, and maybe we'll do club awards. I'm not saying we will, but that could be a possibility. So that was just super fun. Getting to shine spotlight on kids that maybe they haven't had that chance yet because they haven't played the top level clubs, and coaches that have been putting in time for these university athletes for a few years and then finally get recognized. So it was really cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I have that too on my list. Of course, it was a highlight. So I think that I would love to do it for club too. It is especially meaningful for college, and for it to get posted on Ultiworld too is really cool because I think so often we highlight our athletes when they do well in the American series, but we don't highlight enough what's happening locally. And we're always like, you should go to American tournaments, get this American experience so that you can get covered and like photographed and talked about it by Ultiworld, but we can be the kind of bridges to that now that we have this platform. So I think that was really rewarding to kind of see that come to fruition from somebody kind of mentioning it to us to executing.
We'll give some love to McGill because it was McGill who messaged us.
And we'd always thought about it, but that was the extra little push that we needed to kind of be confident in the idea. And seeing the write-ups that teammates were writing about their teammates, it was just heartwarming. So definitely going to do it again. And yeah, streamlined process would be nice so that it doesn't take us so many hours. You folks at home listening to this have no idea how long it takes to do some of these things. Like this episode doesn't take long. It's just kind of our opinions, things that we like. But certain episodes take so long to create. And some of these like college awards, the voting, when Theo does the power rankings, like you got to drop your Venmo, Theo, make people
I don't have a
donate to the cause.
Well, that's actually a funny story because I was buying a jersey at college nationals last year from someone. I was like, "Hey, can I buy this jersey for $20?" He's like, "Yeah, you got Venmo?" And I'm like, that's pretty sure that's an American thing." So I was like, "No, I don't got Venmo." So then I got one of my colleagues from Altiero, like one of the video guys, to Venmo him $20 because Venmo's an American thing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know if we can connect it to our banks. I guess it's kind of like PayPal, so I'm sure we can.
We'll figure
I've
it.
never
I
used
won't
it.
drop any cash app. Just drop a like in the video, you know? That's what YouTubers say. Drop a like, subscribe.
Share with your friends. Share with your friendsies.
Is it back to me now?
It is back to you.
Okay, so paint you a picture. CUC finals, you know, we just did the women's final. It actually got delayed and it got reset again. Women's final finishes. We got the open final coming up. 2 teams I've never won. General Strike AFC. So I'm commentating that game. It was great. General Strike wins. But then I see, and congrats to General Strike. We had them on the podcast. So once again, I'm trying to get you guys back to listen to older episodes if you're a new listener. On the other side, unfortunately, the mixed and open final were happening at the same time. I really wish it wasn't, but there was just nothing we could do. So I like hustle over. I'm like sprinting like as fast as I can, which isn't that fast, but I'm sprinting as as quick as I can over. And the Union PBHG game is still going on. So I'm pretty sure it was you that told me to go horizontal because I'm a boomer, so I was going vertical. So I went horizontal, live streamed that final, and it was super fun to be a part of that because PBHG does make a comeback. Unfortunately, for them, it doesn't end them winning. Union gets a title. Congrats to them. And it was just cool to be a part of that kind of on the sideline. You got the Mofo players who just rolled in for their juniors tournament cheering for PBHG. Just a lot of vibes on the sidelines. It was under the lights. PBHG was making a little bit of a comeback, like I said. So I think someone in the comments, I believe it was Wilkie Lewis, said, if PBHG wins, I will get it tattooed on my chest. So I was hoping that would happen. And unfortunately, it did not. Fortunately, maybe for him, he probably wasn't going to get it tattooed anyways. But it was kind of fun to see the comments and stuff for that kind of event. And so, live stream on the phone. I find that very fun. I know some people, they don't want to be on the mic, but I love doing it. So
It was very nice because I was so curious what was happening, and to be able to follow along at home was awesome. Not everybody likes the horizontal.
Is that true?
Or like the landscape. Some people like it vertical. You can just see more of the field when you do it landscapes. That's why I
but
like it.
Then you
that
can't
way.
see the comments as well, right? If it's
yeah,
I think
that's why like there's benefits and detriments. So, okay. My next favorite mem was winning regionals with traffic. So I think World was kind of, well, they said that they thought Schwa was going to win the region, even
Really?
though they said we hadn't lost to Schwa yet that season. And I was like, we'll use that as fuel, as one does. We're learning as people who put opinions on teams. And we use that as fuel, and we beat them by like 6 or 7 the first time we played them. It was like the first game. And that set us in like a really good trajectory right to finals. And so we were waiting to see who we were going to play in finals. Schwa versus Riot is playing on the other field. Schwa ends up winning by 1, I think. So we play Schwa. We start down again. We always start down. I don't know why. It's like our O-line loves to get broken, and sometimes it's my fault. And we pull it out of the bag. Our D-line is sick. We get a bunch of breaks. And I think we win by 3 or 4 or something. And so, winning regionals for the second year in a row felt really good. So that's what I would say there. Oh, yeah. And then also running up the hill to see Flag had won the bid. And so they were going to USA Nationals. And that was like the first time since 2013, you said, from Odyssey?
Yeah, I mean, someone could fact check that.
Correct us.
But I'm pretty sure it's 2013. So, I love the proving the haters wrong, because as we've learned, and this will be my memory, as we've learned, people take what we say sometimes to heart, and sometimes they use it as fuel. So when I got to CUC, you're going to notice I'm referencing this tournament a lot, but I had people from like AFC, General Strike, they would come up to me Blackfish too, by the way. Apparently Blackfish went as far as to like chant. I was told this by people, by their team. Like they were chanting my name whenever they scored because I said they wouldn't make it out of bracket play or they wouldn't make it to the bracket. So that was really fun. I had a great time. Blackfish is awesome. Lots of love to you guys. But I had AFC and General Strike come up to me like, Theo, Phoenix in the finals? Come on now. You didn't pick us? And so like some people were disappointed I didn't pick them. And my answer always remains the same. I use it to help you. You can use it to help you fuel to your victory, which General Strike did. So I believe I did pick General Strike in the final, not AFC though. So a couple of the AFC Rumble players not happy about that. But I got into some good discussions about it kind of during that break as we talked about. So it was just fun to be able to have people, first of all, listen and care about what we do. I think that's why it's a memory to me, is because people actually care about what we're saying, Danie. Otherwise, if no one cared and no one said anything, I'd be like, well, that kind of sucks. But like people actually care. And McMaster is the other team. I'll kind of link the memories there. You may have saw a reel dropped by Christian Flores, the N. Kalakovic. I don't know if he wants to be called that. I think he does. The N. Kalakovic of the East Coast there. So he dropped a video. And do you remember our audio from 2021 there, Danie? Do you remember that?
I mean, they use a 2021 audio with facts that we were given by a coach of their team that were true in the context of 2021.
I don't think we said that about them in 2022, though, right?
Of course not, because they also had club players. They've had people that played in the summer, and we knew a lot of more people. We knew Sasha. We started to know who Jessica was. Like they have players that we have learned about over the years. We're coming out of COVID. It's 2021. We know nothing, and we also just like used what I think Kim had texted us or
whatever. Big fan of the pod, but yes, yeah,
big fan of the pod. And so we're just doing our thing, and then they used it, and I was like, "We've made it, Theo. We're in a hype video for a team."
I love it, honestly. It's not the first time my audio has been used for that, and it's kind of cool because, like I said, it means we're doing something that is of value to someone, and so that's always memorable. And so, I guess with the recent news, McMaster, you are back. Maybe you're going for that three-peat. So you'll have to stay tuned if we pick you to get that three-peat in 2023. So, any other memories you got, Danie, as we wrap up 2022 and get our eyes set on 2023?
I have 4 more, unfortunately. You did take my McMaster one, which is great.
You have 4 more? Jeez. Okay,
yeah,
good.
I know. So I have another one. Well, one about USA Club Nationals. So for me personally, my goal when I started playing Traffic again the second time was to try to make O-line, because that's kind of like where I think my emotional IQ is, and how I think I have more to offer on the offensive side, but it's usually pretty hard to crack. And so this year I was very confident that I was on that line and was like starting or whatever, like in the rotation. And actually like able to do more than I was able to do last year and feeling more confident with my line. And so my favorite memory from that event is our very final game to play into the pro flight. We're playing against Schwa. They beat us badly in pre-quarters, which really sucked because we had beaten them like 5 times that season. And Ulti just like kind of keeps thinking that they're better than us. And it's really frustrating. And then when it mattered, we lost to them.
Ooh,
and so we were
tough.
really demoralized. Then we go kind of on a tear. We play some fun games. We get all hyped up, and then we just storm through the next 2 or 3 games or whatever it is. And then we end up seeing Schwa again in the 7th place game for Pro Flight. We are just foaming at the mouth, relentless, and we end up crushing them to take 7th. And so it was good vibes. A lot of people say, we're coming back for another year. And so I think our roster, like from the survey, I think only one person wasn't sure if they were going to come back. So that's a good sign that everyone had a really good time and everyone felt valued. So it was a good kind of way to close out that season, and everyone's really hungry to kind of come back and do more. Should I keep going?
I got one more, but what I'll say is if you're trying out for Traffic, good luck, because it sounds like a lot of spots accounted for, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you give one more? We'll go 2 for 1. So you give 1, you go 2, and then I'll give the 1. And then we'll do it again.
Okay, getting to Worlds with the U20 squad, playing well at the beginning, losing to Czech, which should not have happened, losing to France fair enough. They're very good. They almost beat the States. We're back to back, regrouping, reworking our O-line, moving people around, and then kind of coming back through the dirt road to see New Zealand in kind of like a quarterfinal type game, being down by 4 breaks, coming back, crushing them 15-8. Stuff like that. Really cool. We were neck and neck with the US. I think we lost by 2 or something in our semifinal game. And then we were rematched against Italy. Italy played insane. We were behind, I think, in the first half, and then just slowly kind of chipped away and got some breaks. And it was like a full team effort in order to win bronze, and definitely assumed we would medal going into the tournament. And then once I started to see kind of what the landscape was ended up being very grateful to have medaled by the end of the tournament.
We have talked about this before, how Canadians, I haven't been to a Worlds event as a player, but I assume a lot of players, they think we just show up, we're going to play the U.S. in the final. Like if it's U20s, right?
Yep.
Like they're used to that. It's not the case now, folks. Like you got other countries stepping up. And we saw it with France, we saw Italy. Like we saw it with Italy actually in, 2019 when the Open team made it, or 2018 when the Open team made it to the final, gave US a good game too. So that was a few years ago now. So countries are definitely stepping up their game. I'm going to assume that on your wish list or the next section, you're going to have something related to the national teams. But yeah, congrats to your team for getting bronze there. For me, I guess I'll have a couple because we're going 2 for 1. So this one I'll share is about college nationals. So one, in terms of the lead up, I love the fact that we were able to shine a spotlight not just on UBC, but also McGill for participating in tournaments, having them on our pod and having them talk about their experience coming second at Centex, which is a pretty big tournament. Them traveling from Montreal all the way to Austin, Texas. And I believe they were the last seed in the tournament, if I'm not mistaken, and they made it to the final. So that was pretty cool and dope. So I'm saying this because we always encourage it. Come out to these tournaments. Make something happen. But I'll give you a teaser for the subscriber only where I talk about my favorite games. This was one of my favorites. Apparently, some of the things we said has become a meme in the traffic. I don't know if I can say that out loud, but the traffic group chat. So it was UNC versus UBC. I had the real pleasure of commentating with someone that I've looked up to in Charlie Eisenhood. Longtime listener of the podcast. I'm just kidding. But you probably know him. He's the editor and founder there of Ultiworld. So being able to commentate a game with him, it was a quarterfinal, knew a lot of eyes and ears would be on it. That was really awesome to have the opportunity and be entrusted to do that game. And UBC, you had your chances. I got to remain neutral. So when UNC scores and LA Youngster was just hitting that front cone, I had to bring it up multiple times because that's try to be as professional as I can. But it was a great game. UBC had chances. UNC just showed why they are the dominant team there in the women's division and probably will be the favorite. They are the favorite again, and it wouldn't surprise me if they repeat. You don't think so?
I feel like Colorado, Carleton.
Who? UNC won.
No, but I feel like UNC is not the favorite going to this next season.
I mean, it could be Colorado because Colorado has a lot of their players back. I mean, UNC is going to be a favorite of like favorite 2 or 3, So believe Cleo Phillips and Stacey Gaskell, 2 of their big time players, are back. So Colorado going to have a lot of firepower as well. So really excited for college in general, and excited to see some Canadian teams out there. UBC, I know, has been training hard, so trying to improve on that finish from last season, right, Danie?
Correct. One thing I'm going to say about the cone thing. Okay, so all of traffic is watching because I got lots of our little homies on UBC, and we had this like thread going, and we're like, why are these commentators so obsessed with this front cone? And so then we I immediately Googled like sexy cone, and there's like this like we've turned it into an emoji in our Slack, and so we use it quite often when we think Ultiworld's being stupid or biased, which is like it's a team's right to be consistently annoyed about everything in terms of like media, so it's fair. But it's like this woman in like a Halloween cone costume, so it's like kind of sexy, and she's like touching the cone, like bending over. It's excellent because we're like, why are these guys so obsessed with this cone? Why do they keep talking about it? It's getting weird. So I will continue to talk about UBC. So another favorite thing for me this year is kind of getting the opportunity to work with UBC. It's hard to kind of express properly, but coaching at the U20, U24 and college level scratches an itch for me after doing years and years and years of kind of intro stuff with Elevate or like intermediate stuff, even advanced high school stuff. It's so exciting to be consistently working with athletes that are hungry, want feedback, are aggressive, tenacious. It's incredible. And I'm very, very excited to see what we can do at the following tournaments. We're going to be going to Stanford, Northwest Challenge, and all of those things. So, I mean, half the roster is basically on Team Canada.
More than half, no?
No. I think it's like 13 or 12.
A lot of people.
It's a lot of people. So, my final one is at the U24 tryouts. I'm going to say specifically the East tryout because I knew less of those athletes. Like I knew them from footage. I knew their references. I had maybe seen them at U20 tryouts or on the U20 teams, etc. But for me, what stood out so much of that tryout was how deep it was. So day one, we're basically just trying to sort athletes and try to kind of condense the ones that we're kind of more looking at into a smaller space. And that was hard to do. Like we wanted to have the group and it was just, everyone is so good. It just, ultimate is changing. Normally it's like you have your top however many. I think it's doubled. So it was just a very cool experience to be a part of, to like see how talented the East has gotten. And I think like the West was talented too. There's just like a smaller pool of athletes in general because it's mostly just like Vancouver. And then we have some Winnipeg friends and some Alberta friends, but it's not the same as Ontario and Quebec and the Maritimes. It's another world out there.
Built different. That's what they say. Built different.
Built deeper for sure. That's it for me.
For me, last one is just going to be a good old, what word do we use a lot? Shout out. A good old shout out to those who helped us this year. Like, you know, at Uni Nats, boots on the ground, people live streaming for us, giving us either results, like messaging us, telling us stuff. I remember even at Masters Nats, I had someone messaging me like about teams and players to give me more info. Like just things like that have really helped this year and made it really awesome. So not one specific memory, but the memories of those who have helped us. You know who you are. Streaming, giving advice, or whatever it is. We do appreciate that. And we're hoping for more of that in 2023. And that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to, I guess, we're not even going to take a break. We're just jump right in. Danie, is that right? We're just going to go right into some cool changes we want to see or things we want to see there in the new year?
Yes. I'm going to start with one because you just reminded me of it with what you had just said about people helping out. But a wish list for me for 2023 is that we get more interns for Huckin Eh. We can't pay you. We don't really make money.
Unpaid interns. We love it.
Unpaid interns. It gives you good experience on your resume because you've worked for a media company. You've worked for Ultiworld technically. Anything in terms of graphic design, in terms of social media posts, making forums, engagement on social media, those kinds of things become really useful, or even coverage at tournaments. So if you're like a high school student or an early college student and you're wanting to go into sports media, maybe you could do on-field reporting for us, get that experience, build up that resume. So number one wish list for me is that we invite some more people into the Huckin Eh family. So if this appeals to you, you got to reach out to us.
I didn't even know you were going to drop that. So that was hype. That was hype. Yeah, please do that. That'd be cool. We'll pay you in virtual high fives or something. And a shout out. I don't know. For me, it's kind of related to media. I want to see our CUC event. I think it's pretty big for sort of the teams and players that like don't play in the US or don't get that like opportunity. But I think there's a way for us to like kind of boost the hype of the event. And that for me, from the media side, is just to like, let's just make the media coverage even better. So I'm talking, let's get multiple cameras out there. Let's get the replays going. Let's get some cool graphics slicing through. Basically, what I'm saying is, Ulti-World, let's find a way to get some of the broadcasts a little more spice. So we get a little more the replay package out into a break, all that good stuff. So been really stoked about being on the kind of the other side of it, commentating and seeing the packages going off as I'm like narrating our outro. Like it's pretty cool. So would love to see that more. I know it obviously would require more financial resources, but I think it's one way that we can continue to engage the youth and get people excited about Frisbee. So that's my wish list. Let's get some dope production here for CUC. It's you got what, 8 months, more than that away? We can make something happen, you know?
I'm going to piggyback off that. I think if mine's related to yours, I'll just do that one. So I did wish for more money, people to be put into media somehow, to have more dedicated and paid people covering the season. I think it's important that we start that culture shift where we pay people, because you're going to get more dedication. You're going to get higher skilled folks doing the things. The people are going to stay in those positions longer. It's going to be worth it if we can find a way to make that happen. This whole section isn't necessarily Theo and I saying how we're going to do these things. This is saying what we want. And I want more paid people in media.
Yeah, I'm starting off at least with more realistic things, and then I'm going to go and venture into like the random stuff. So for me, something that really got me into Ultimate, especially high level Ultimate, was documentaries. So the main one that, cover your ears, Vancouver Furious people, but actually no, don't cover your ears because you actually won. So open up your ears. Chasing Sarasota. If you've seen that documentary, it is really well done. It gives you a backdrop into what elite level playing was at that time, what it's like to train and get to where you want to be. At USA Nationals, they were in a tough region with Revolver was in that region too. It's crazy. Revolver, Sockeye, Furious. And it follows Portland Rhino. I remember there was a documentary about GOAT in like 2012 or 2013.
Yeah. The Herd.
Yeah, The Herd. And those documentaries really impacted me and like made me like love the sport more. And I want to see like someone, maybe it's Nathan, maybe it's Christian, someone follow a team around. Specifically, I want to see it on the women's or mixed side, because the documentaries I did have watched, it's a lot of open teams. So like Pittsburgh had a great one, Michigan Magnum has a great one as well. So a lot of the open side. I think Ulti-World's done a little bit of a documentary for Molly Brown. I know they did one for Ring of Fire, but it'd be good to follow a team around and kind of get to know some of the personalities and see what it takes to get to that level. It's just another way. You're going to notice a lot of mine are media related, but I think it's just a way to get people excited about the sport and to learn more about what it takes to get to the highest level. So any upcoming documentary filmmakers, sign up with a team or tell them, hey, I want to film your season and tell a cool story. So that's mine. That's my second
That would be amazing. I think that I like the point of it being a women's team or a mixed team too. It's cool because when the All-Star Tour happened and the All-Star documentary happened and Next Gen and stuff, that was very impactful on me too. And it's kind of been a hiatus for those kinds of things being created. So yeah, we've got to get back on that train again. I'm going to do 2 in a row because they're kind of like rule changes. I would love to see more tournaments, 7-on-7, be stall 7. And I would love it if like non-sanctioned tournaments could start demoing other fun rules like 2-point options. If you can throw to somebody in a specific spot or like whatever, like I would love to see tournament organizers kind of experiment a little bit. And I know there's purists out there. They're going to be like, why are you trying to change the game? And it's not about that. It's about experimenting, keeping it fresh, kind of making things exciting, watching teams kind of figure out new strategies, that kind of thing.
Hey, we're venturing into like the more fun stuff. I like that because I have a couple rule changes too. One of them is going to be, can we do something about timeouts? I know Charlie has talked about this before. Maybe it's because I've watched a lot of semi-pro. That's all I'm saying. But can we find a way to use timeouts to like actually have some strategic benefit? Like imagine you're storing up your timeout. You put your D-line out on Universe. They get a break. And then you're like, I call that T. Call that timeout. Get the offense on. And let's seal this game. I think that's kind of cool. Another one is these aren't particularly like just ones I've come up with, but different tournament formats. Like I think it'd be cool to do. I think it's called like Swiss draw or something, but basically you have like you match up with a team, and then if you win, you play another team that wins. And then if you lose, you play another team that loses, and if you lose again, you play another team that's lost, and you kind of play based on strength. I think that's kind of cool because as we saw at USA Club Nationals, I'm going to speak specifically about the Open Division. Um, all the top teams were like in one side of the bracket, so one team had kind of the quote unquote easier side with the lower seeds, and that just happens with how the tournament shakes out. But it'd be kind of cool to see, is there a way to find the best team at a tournament? And it's not just like the classic pool play, power pools, bracket play. Is there a way? I don't know.
I think that tournament format sounds good for like, again, like the non-sanctioned
It might
tournaments.
not work for nationals though.
Maybe not, but we got to demo it in other tournaments. So I kind of want tournament organizers to just experiment a little bit. So my next one is that I would like junior nationals to have 2 different divisions. So I would like for there to be a grade 8 to 10 division with no zone and a grade 11 to first year division. The reason
also, like
for this,
YCCs kind of. I like that.
exactly. So I think that's kind of like the whole U20 category would be that category. And then it would be like a U17, U16 category. And the no zone is because I want those athletes to kind of develop a bit better before having to get thrown into zone. It sucks to watch grade 8s having it and grade 9s having to deal with zone. It's just like, it's bad ultimate. Anyways, I have a big hate on for it. And I understand that if I'm coaching that level and it's working, I'm going to use that as a strategy too, if I'm allowed. So that's my gripe. I like having first years be included in this event. The ones that want to stay in those clubs, they can. I find we lose a lot of first years because they're not quite ready for adult clubs, and it gives them a little bit more of a transition year where if they're good enough, they can go play adult clubs. And if they need one more year of development while they're in first year of college or they just graduated high school, they kind of get that grace period. I think that in communities that couldn't put a grade 8 to 10 team and a grade 11 to first year, there would be some exemptions. The younger players could play up, for example, but I think in places like BC, Ontario, Quebec, it would be great to see a younger division be developed. Yeah, in Manitoba, same thing. So that's kind of my thoughts on that part.
Sick ideas, because I had something kind of similar. But it's can we expand D1 college Nats? Let's expand that sucker. 8 teams right now. I have mentioned this to someone on Ultimate Canada. I've said it to their face. I'm just saying. So this is a real impassioned idea. But when you have 8 teams and they all make it, and there's 2 pools of 4 on the Saturday, pool play essentially becomes irrelevant. I believe McMaster could be corrected. They didn't go 3-0. I think they either went 1 or 2, 1 and 2 and 2 and 1, and then won the whole tournament. But the fact that they didn't, like the fact that you could potentially go 0-3 on day 1, just end up facing a top team in the quarters and still win out. Like that doesn't make sense to me. So can we expand to at least 10 or 12? 12 would be the best, because then you could have like the bottom 4 teams. There's like a little crossover thing, and then the bottom 4 teams end up playing their little own thing on Sunday with the bracket play or whatever. I think that'd be kind of cool. And then I'm going to go far out here and say there should be like D1 and D2 club Nats. So like the 8 or 10 teams in D1, and then like there's a D2, and there maybe like the Friday qualifier thing for Uni Nats is very exciting. I have yet to be there, but I know from what people have told me that it's fire. It's exciting because you're fighting for your D1 life. Be kind of cool to give some clubs some opportunity, especially those that come from the tougher regions. I don't know. So that's my idea. Divide up club Nats and then expand college Nats. Give some more opportunities for people to play in the D1. Especially this year, I feel like there were a lot of good teams that didn't make it on both sides, both divisions. I think opened being a little bit stronger, where some teams I think definitely could have qualified. But even women's Guelph was there. They could have made it, but they lost out. Waterloo was up there too. So that's my suggestion based off of what you said, though. So it was good.
No, I like that, and I think the Friday qualifiers for CUCs would be good too. It's more incentive for teams to travel if the field site. Okay, again, we're not trying to figure out how, but if we had field capacity to have a second tier tournament, that's number one, makes more money for Ultimate Canada. We can do more things with that money. Number two, it engages more teams, and especially the teams that normally want to go. And then it's a World's year where other teams show up and take their normal spot. Like, it still gives them an opportunity to go. And I know that has changed a little bit with the Team Canada thing, but still, I think that kind of creates a buzz around the event, gets more people there. The showcase games or the games at the end will be better attended. I just think it's a good vibe, which is kind of the vibe of this episode. So I want to retweet what you said. Okay. I'm going to stay kind of in the juniors-ish section where I have full belief that Ultimate Canada should be sending a U17 team internationally. I know I've mentioned this on the pod before, and a lot of people agreed with me. I think I was just a bit too... I wear many hats, and I think that there's potentially other people could spearhead it, and maybe not me or in support with me. I think that we could send a team, but it might be something that Ultimate Canada wants to look at doing more regionally first, doing a U17 division prior to sending one internationally. So I just think we're going to fall behind if we don't kind of get on that horse right away, because I'm not worried about these athletes burning out. Like, that doesn't happen in other sports. The athletes that are going to burn out because they played a world championships when they're 16 are going to be the athletes that are going to burn out anyway. Whereas if you have a U17 division and you have these kids training at 15 and 14, because they think that that's a possibility, maybe all of a sudden you have this whole group of actual like athletic kids that are like, this is pretty cool. I want to train for this thing. And maybe they take Ultimate more seriously because of it. So people say burnout all the time, and it's very rare that you see somebody at that level burn out and not play U20s or you play U24s. A lot of people stop playing after the U24 level because they have real careers. Like, they're out of college now. Like, that just makes sense, and that's fine. And it's not the end of the world. I'm going to stop ranting.
No, I was giving Dane a space to rant. I love it. I know Toronto and I'm going to say Montreal sent a team in 2019 or 2018 to YCCs. A bunch of those players on that U17 Wild team in the boys division are now on the TC teams that you're coaching. Dax Miller, Justin Lowe, like, they were on that Wild team. I believe Oscar Stonehouse as well. So they got the experience. They played up here, but also they got to travel down to YCC. So that's another example of kind of that U17. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Love that. Give them more opportunities. And relate to the burnout thing, you see it more when someone who has played like U24, semi-pro, club, national team, and like all that. Like, it does happen. One day I do, at least my hope is that we talk about with some athletes who stop playing Frisbee and like figure out why. It'd be kind of cool. So yeah, great point there. I'm going to go venture into like more of the far out now. So I want to see our mixed division go like even numbers. So you either go 6-on-6 with the same field dimensions, or you go 4-on-4 with added dimensions. One of the reasons why I bring this up is because I remember when I've played in co-ed volleyball leagues, and I played in a co-ed volleyball league in Guelph, and it was like, oh, you just need 2 women on the court at all times. And that always like boggled my mind. I was like, but in the name, it's Guelph co-ed volleyball league, so shouldn't it just be like equal? So if you're going to call it that, I think then you should have it be equal and give everyone equal opportunities. I know we've done some great things with the polling rules. That's good. But it'd be cool to see it like 3-3. Have like, you don't have to worry about the gender matching. You're just playing. It's just even. I know they tried that at the All-Star game, AUDL All-Star game, I think. I didn't actually get to watch the 8-on-8, but it seemed to, from what I heard, seemed to work decently well. So I'm going far out here, but I want to see, maybe kind of relate to what you said, Danny, a tournament organizer says, hey, let's try something different. We won't know until we try it.
I mean, usually you're just trying to find out ways to move certain people out of the way in order to isolate other people in space. I don't think the game changes too much personally if you go 6-on-6. So, like, negatively, I don't think there's a much downside to it. Okay. I want the prospect camps for both U20 and U24 to actually mean something. At the U20 level, I think the attendance is quite good, and they get a full, at least the ones that I went to, they got a full report with their fitness scores compared to like the average group. Any kind of notes that I wanted to give them from that prospect camp, I wrote in there and like sent it to them. I'm not sure if that's like standard, but I think they're supposed to get feedback during that camp to help them at the actual tryout, and they get exposure to the tryout drills as well. And then, so I want them to mean something. So at the U24 level, players don't often go to those, but this year we did these 2 U24 tryouts. We had like 300 applications, too many. We didn't know we'd have that many. It took us days and days and days and days and days of hours for all of us to go through all these applications to see who we could invite to the tryout. So what I'm proposing is that we do 6 prospect camps that mean something, where athletes actually, it's not just like learn it and kind of get to know the coaches or whatever. It's actually a camp to prospect the athletes, in which case we kind of identify at that tryout, we would like to see this person at tryouts. And so the invite list to the national tryout is much smaller, and it's in one location. So everybody across Canada, say it's top 40 in each gender match, come to the same spot. And so if you decide to not go to the prospect camp, it's a big risk. Unless you're like a superstar and everyone knows who you are or whatever. But I think that from the selection process, trying to judge players from the Vancouver tryout versus the Ottawa tryout was excruciatingly difficult. And you don't really know, unless you can see these athletes matched up against each other, kind of how good everybody is. So I would want that. The prospect camps would mean more players wouldn't have to travel to go to those camps. And then if they were serious about making the national team, they would fly and go to that tryout.
Tryout before the tryout. I like that.
Yeah.
Once again, we're going to keep the disclaimers going. We're not saying how to do it. We're just saying like what we want to see. So keeping with that theme, I want to see us as in like Ultimate Canada, I guess, or the governing, like Ultimate in Canada. Let's try to get some more sponsors out here. Let's try. And like, let's get some sponsors. Let's throw a little, some like incentives financially for teams to go out to CUCs on non quote unquote Worlds years. Once again, not saying how you're going to pull this off, but I don't know if you're going to have a title sponsor. I don't know what's going to happen, but it'd be kind of cool to see that so that you do incentivize some of these teams to come out. I know there was the Richmond Cup that happened. I think it happened this year, but the big one was last year where there was a decent amount of prize money like to be had there. So that's kind of cool. It goes down to the debate of like, how do we incentivize these teams without them having to go to the States? One suggestion would be you cannot play in the States, so these teams cannot go. I'm not saying that that's my idea. I'm just saying that could be a suggestion. But I think the other one is like incentivizing teams to with some financial incentives or something related to that nature. So let's get those sponsors. Maybe it's Ultimate Canada sponsored by Cliff Bar. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Yes. Kind of on the money trend. I mean, I kind of wish for Ultimate Canada to put on Ultimate Canada specific camps for youth. So you see like Basketball Canada putting on camps all over, and it's not necessarily for anything. Like they're not going to try to like make a team, but it's a specific set of coaches that have played for the national teams or coach national teams that are putting on these camps for all these kids. They get like the reversible jersey that's Ultimate Canada, kind of get that branding out there. It's a fundraiser for Ultimate Canada a little bit. Like it covers the costs of having the coaches coach it. Like it pays people to kind of run the events. And it's really good for kind of developing a kind of nationwide style, things that Ultimate Canada deems important, and how to talk about spirit, how to talk about rules kind of at these camps. I would very, very, very much love to see that. You see other sports do it. I think we should do it as well. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's always a good thing to look at how other governing bodies are doing things, and kind of, obviously we're not going to have the same reach or financial resources that like a Basketball Canada has, but maybe looking at smaller sports. Like I know a lot of people compare Ultimate to lacrosse. Lacrosse wasn't that big before. I mean, it's huge now, but especially in the States. But it's something to kind of look at. I'm going far out here. I'm going to take something from the Europeans, and I want to see. I don't think this will be done obviously in 2023, but eventually maybe it could be hosted in a location that has a bit better weather, aka Vancouver, in the winter. But seeing split open women's and mixed seasons. Theo, why are you suggesting this? I'm suggesting this because I think it makes you a better Ultimate player if you play both. So you like learn to like cut and play in different systems, play a different style of Ultimate. When we had Red Flag on, they talked a lot about how one of the big things in their practices is throwing to the different genders, like in huck drills and things. And I think that just helps you develop your overall game. And I think it could also help increase people's willingness. I'm not saying no one wants to play mixed. I'm just saying some people often choose not to. And I think if you could split it, then they're not really picking. They could play open and then they can go play with their mixed team. And then maybe have some more mixed teams that come up and developing that greater community in their city or area. So I don't know how this would actually take place. Maybe you would have one like in the spring in Vancouver where is it cold in the spring in Vancouver?
No.
Boom. Host it there at whatever field location in Vancouver or Surrey. And we got ourselves a mixed championship and then open women's. Other countries do this from what I know. So it is something that is possible if you have the climate. It'd be kind of cool to see. I told you I was going far out.
No, that is an interesting concept. I know juniors is that way in the States too, at the high school level. They split their mixed and their, yeah. Okay, so I kind of wanted to add on something to my last one about the youth camps. And it's sort of about prospect camps too, but I want a national database of athletes registered with Ultimate Canada. Like as they're kind of going through, if you know what the gold medal pathway is, if you know kind of NCCP, national coaching stuff, I would love for there to be a national database of all these athletes with fitness scores, kind of like where they're at, their heights, hometowns, kind of what position they play, what club teams they play for, that's continually updated so that when we do these tryouts, we already know who to reach out to invite them to the prospect camps and stuff. So I know that this is kind of like something that I was working on before, other people are kind of working on it, but we don't have, again, a paid person dedicated to doing these types of things. And so they never get like completed or finished or whatever. So like we all kind of have our own lists. Like for U24, I had like my own prospecting list, but it should just exist. And so I would love it if that could be a thing that's developed. We have regional kind of coaches or people that kind of update it. Like the PSOs, for example, BC Ultimate will run an annual testing day where all the athletes that want to be considered for top club teams, whatever, come, they get tested, everything gets inputted. Boom. I want to add that on. Okay. I want there to be more tournaments put on by Ultimate Canada that are just for fun, because I think that Ultimate Canada is so low resourced from what I can tell or what I have heard, that I would love for them to be able to find more ways to make more money, to be able to hire more people, to offer more stuff, to have more of the national team stuff be covered, or have it not be as expensive for these U24 and U20 athletes to play. But they need to make money. Like it's not like they're sitting around not doing anything. Like they're all doing so much and there's so much volunteering happening. They need more funding sources. So whether that's through getting sponsors or through running events, I think we could have more fun events happening put on by Ultimate Canada. I don't know like how that would work, but that's not what this is about.
Hey, we're just throwing ideas on the wall and hoping they stick. So related to that, I want to see more showcase games. I know some people, you don't like the semi-pro thing. That's fine. You can still do a showcase game with club rules. Wouldn't it be cool to have General Strike play like, I don't know how you're going to pull this off, but like Fly Out Furious for like a showcase game at like the Blue Bomber Stadium, and like you get you pay to get in, and it's a way, you bring the youth teams out there, they get to see what there is. That Fusion goes out and plays Traffic or something, like you get all three divisions represented in like back to back showcase games. Like that's kind of cool. I do think showcase games from a media and participant, viewing perspective is one of the futures of like when you've probably had someone try to watch a tournament that you play in. I remember I've had that. And I'm like, so we're on field so-and-so at 10, but at 12, we're on this field. Just try to find us. Like, I'll be busy. I can't tell you where I will be. Whereas, like, if you're like, hey, my team is playing, hey, Winnipeg friends, my team is playing at Blue Bomber Stadium tonight or next week. That'd be kind of cool. So another way to maybe get some financial resources, but also a way to grow the sport through kind of the spectator aspect. I know just from experience with the semi-pro leagues, like a lot of people end up trying out for those teams because they watched it as a kid. So I know that's something that other sports focus on, like with you can look at baseball or other sports. Like they know that if someone gets sucked into the sport as a youth, they're very likely to watch it later as an adult, as a fan. And then for Ultimate, we wanted them to participate or at least continue to support the sport. So kind of get them when they're young is what we're saying.
Yeah, I think that the idea of like all three teams from Vancouver, like each city sending a team in each division once a year to another location, because then you can kind of get like a full circuit where Vancouver would host three teams from a place and then Winnipeg would host three teams, but also would travel. So I think that would be quite fun. And depending upon the time of year, you can get pretty cheap flights within Canada. Okay. I would like for there to be some sort of like coach's corner resource thing nationwide where any coach can sign up to it. And it's videos, drills, diagrams on how to teach rules, how to teach spirit, games. And it's super simple for anybody to follow it. Because I think that for a lot of teams that I see at the high school level, for example, if they don't have a coach that's played really high level or something like that, or maybe they don't know, maybe they used to coach a different sport and then they are now coaching Ultimate, I think that there's not enough resources for them in order to be successful in terms of teaching rules and spirit. And so making it as simple and as streamlined as possible would be kind of the goal. So this week, okay, every coach is getting the newsletter like based on your season. So your season starts, say, in February. The first week's newsletter will be like how to start a game. And it'll be talking about like starting the game. And like every coach gets the same thing. They get drills to work on these things in a video format. And then next week, it's going to be traveling. So all coaches at the same time are learning about traveling in the same way with the same language. And so if those teams play each other in a friendly that week, they know what rules the other team knows at that point. And so there's kind of like no miscommunications. It's really easy. Yes, I'm thinking about working on this anyway, so we'll see if I have time.
I mean, you already started it, so subs only. We're just going to make it worldwide or nationwide. So there you go. I've talked about this with a few different people in my circles, and I think that is something that at least I'm noticing, maybe on the East Coast side, but in general, I think there's a need for developing more coaches, like high-level coaches. I know you just talked a little bit more about the coaches just learning. I know maybe based off of your experiences coaching high school, for example, where some coaches could really use help in that. But I think related to that is, hopefully I'm not stealing your point here, Danie, but like an apprenticeship kind of program or something where like a coach who's coached multiple Team Canada cycles like takes on another like coach for a year where they like have monthly, maybe this already happens, Danie, but like monthly meetings where they like work through stuff. And just, it's kind of like when I had a mentor teacher for teaching, I thought that was really helpful. Someone like to check in every month and just say like, hey, this is going well. I need some help with this. Like, I'm not really sure how to navigate this part of my teaching practice. What do you suggest based on your experience? I think you can kind of do that with coaching as well. I personally would want that for commentating. So I assume coaches would want that too.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the intention is there when we expanded the amount of coaches at the U24 level. So we each get 2 assists. And the intention is to bring more people kind of into the cycle. And I think we're also inviting in other people that are interested in coaching at that level to help out at training camps and that kind of thing. So that intention is being worked on, but having like a specific kind of apprenticeship or like buddy system, not necessarily tied to a national team, is an interesting idea. I would like to see more power rankings. I think we started doing it a lot.
Oh, no.
And you started doing it a lot. And I think it's good, and they should be more on the regular. So again, somebody help us, please.
Yeah, power rankings. There's Danny, I'm gonna segue this or like side tangent. Like, I don't know why people get so fired up about power rankings, but it happens in every division, like in the US too. Like, people just get fired up when their team is ranked low. They just don't like it. And it creates like this visceral body reaction to them that they just get really upset. So I do agree with that. I'm gonna bounce back to Uni Nats real quick. And I want to see, I talked about how I want to see Division One expanded. I kind of want to see the D2 have something when I like this, but I think it'd be kind of cool to have like a B division only. So it's like you have the teams that don't qualify for D1. You got your D2 teams that didn't qualify. Then you have your B teams. It's only B teams. So why do you suggest that? Well, it's because oftentimes the B teams end up playing each other anyways because they're not beating these teams from the top team from other schools. Even if the school isn't as strong, they're usually not winning.
Please excuse this interruption. The gym will be closed.
So I'm
We're gonna leave
recording.
this in.
Thank you.
So we're gonna leave this in here. I'm recording from the office. It's where the good internet is, and so that's just a warning that the facility is closing. But since I work here, I'm able to stay forever. So, anyways, the B teams being able to play each other, and then these teams now have something, a championship or something to strive towards during the season. It's like, hey, we're playing these, other university tournaments with all the other A teams, but then there's like a B team nationals. I think that'd be kind of cool to get more people to maybe play B teams. Otherwise, they might just not play at all. So one of the themes you're probably noticing is participation. That's something I want to continue to increase.
Yeah, trying to take away barriers to people putting themselves into tournaments and stuff. It's definitely an opportunity if we have field space for it. If any teams want to go, let's try to make it work. This is actually my last one. I don't know where you are on your list.
No, we'll wrap this up. This has been a good episode though, but we'll wrap it up.
It's in fact been girthy, Theo.
Oh gosh, we'll let you finish it off. My wish list is that Danie never uses that word again. That's my wish list right there.
Who knows what 2023 will bring for you, my friend. Okay,
you
my
wrap it
last
up.
wish is that all 3 teams U24 medal. And I know Ultimate Canada always says this, but this year, because the athletes' priority or preference was whatever you say, like we their preference mattered. They got their preference if that team was going to take them or whatever. And so that's the first time this has happened. And so it's a completely new way of going about it. And I think that for me personally, most people don't have that much exposure to mixed. So there weren't a ton of people that put mixed preference or no preference. Like most people pick single gender because that's what they're used to. And so on paper, you'd think that in years past, the mixed teams maybe would be stronger. And so I am really excited about my team because I know everybody really wants to be there and is really excited about it. So I really think that this group of athletes that I have specifically are working hard, are being super goofy already in our Slack. So my wish list is that we slay at Worlds.
We won't say what medal. We just want them bring home the hardware. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
So that wraps up our main event here. That was a fun way to look back at 2022. Looking forward to the new year as well. Danie, I'll do the socials. I'll do the socials.
Thank you.
Huckin_A on Instagram. All the other stuff, Twitter, we don't check that. Email huckineh@ultiworld.com. We'll keep you in suspense for the episode next week, but we will be talking more Ultimate because it's Ultimate Podcast. So thank you for tuning in. If you want to stay on for subs only, you can join me in the inaugural Commentator's Corner where I talk about my 5 favorite games that I was able to call this past year. So you got Coach's Corner last week, you got Commentator's Corner this week. Danie, any other thoughts before we sign off here?
It's been an amazing year. It's been a busy year. It's been a year where everyone was out playing Ultimate again. It wasn't like a fake year like last year where we were kind of dipping our toes. This is our first year back, and I just feel very grateful to be able to play Ultimate with so many people, meet so many people, coach a bunch, do this podcast, have so much stuff to talk about. And for you, Theo, grateful for you.
That's not on the wish list, but yes, very thankful for not just the community, but also obviously the co-host that makes things happen, Danie Proby. I'm Theo Wan. We're going to sign off. It sounds like I'm signing off a broadcast, but we're going to